Welcome to the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. Your adventure into the world of comic book movies starts here.
Greetings, citizens, and welcome to another adventure of the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. I'm Travis.
And I'm Patrick. Today we got a special guest. Charlie, would you like to reintroduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Charlie Talbert from such film as Angus.
Yeah. Let's see. Patrick and I are, roughly the same age, a couple years apart. So that's probably we definitely remember you from that, obviously. But yeah, I mean, you got some great stuff in your IMDb. I mean, even just stuff this year, Rebel Ridge, Megalopolis, Lisa Frankenstein.
Oh, I'm actually wearing the Lisa Frankenstein hat right now.
Oh, is that what that is? Okay. Oh, there it is.
Zelda Williams, Robin Williams' daughter directed that. Was awesome.
Okay.
And my daughter was stoked because she saw that you were on Secrets of Sulphur Springs.
Right.
So that's her jam.
Best plumber ever.
Yeah.
I know, we had to find you.
Yeah. For the listeners, I got in contact with Charlie. It's coming up on 5 years ago because he was in an episode of the HBO Watchmen TV show, and at the time, I was doing Watchmen Minute, and we had wrapped up our coverage of that movie, and so we were breaking down looking at the TV episodes as well, and we reached out to Charlie, and he came on and talked to us about that episode, and then shortly after that, I would have sent Charlie the Real Comic Heroes list of movies that we're gonna do, and he picked Galaxy Quest, and we'll get into the why that you picked that and in a minute, but yeah, so it's been 5 years in the making getting Charlie on the show, and reached back out recently, and you were still up for it, which is awesome. So thank you for that.
Oh, glad to be here.
Yeah.
In fact, I picked this movie because Time Cop was no longer available.
Oh,
Nice. Same level of quality. Yep.
Right. You get it.
Yeah. So I want to kick things off with a new thing we've started doing. It's kind of a get to know the guest sort of thing, since we talk about comic book movies, but obviously with stuff like Galaxy Quest, we're veering off of that a little bit. But I do want to touch on the guest's history with comics and comic book movies and stuff. So Charlie, what is the first comic book you can remember reading?
So the first one that I can actually remember seeing are just some old Archie comics of my uncle's, but that wasn't me being involved with oh, that's a comic book. What's your comic book about?
Yeah.
I think the first time I ever reached out for a comic book was actually the director of Angus took us out, and he wanted to just have a bonding day with me and Chris, and he actually got me the first 7 issues. I think it's the 97 Legends of the Dark Knight.
Okay.
And it was the first 7 volumes of it. And that was what I read, because I just remember the art being so insane. And my love for Batman stems back to, 89 Batman.
Yeah.
So it's 66 Batman for sure. But
sure,
that kind of intense darkness is oh yeah, that's got to happen. So I was like, I would like that. And he was like, you can have that. And I read that. And I didn't actually cherish it the way I should have. In fact, I no longer have any of those comics.
Yeah.
Which breaks my heart. But I remember really kind of dedicating myself at the time to reading them just because of the art and what it was. And I think at that point, and only that point, did I really start to appreciate other people's style of art.
Okay.
If it were Angus for me was more of a release of being an angsty teenager and stuff like that.
Right.
Then having a bunch of friends that were working a lot, I started to notice little things about art. And that comic book kind of caught my eye, and I was like, wow, that's really pretty, And then I don't remember reading another comic book till going into the Watchmen series.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A Watchmen series of comics, not the series itself.
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Okay. What about what's the first comic book movie you saw?
Okay, and I'm pretty sure it's a movie. It was I saw it 4 years after its first release. It would have been the 77, The Amazing Spider-Man.
Okay.
And that was Nicholas Hammond.
Yep.
And Nicholas, I remember just the band being on his arm and it looking just a little off
Yeah.
But what they were doing was intriguing enough to me as a 3 or 4 year old
Okay.
to really look at it. And whenever it would come back on for like CBS specials or whatever, yeah, it was a CBS special,
Mm-hmm.
and I just was like, that's okay, that's cool, that's cool. And also, it kind of I didn't grow up in a city,
Mm.
so seeing a city and being enveloped in a city in different angles as they were trying to make you feel like you were with Spider-Man
Yeah.
was kind of cool. So like I got a lot of respect for that.
Right on.
Yeah, I was kind of worried everyone's pick was going to be the Superman, the movie,
Yeah.
but didn't see Spider-Man coming. I can't
Yeah.
say I
It wasn't my
expected
first. Yeah. I mean, it's out of the blue, but you know what made me think of it too is my roommate is one of my best friends. His name's Christopher Barry. He was in like 12 Years a Slave, Walking Dead. He was in Spider-Man: Homecoming. But I
Okay.
had remembered talking to him a little bit about that, and I got him this like little comic book shadow box picture for the hallway for him. Just and every time I come out, I think about that movie. And the first time I
Nice.
saw it, sit in front of the TV and feeling the like static electricity off of the TV. I was so close, and the warmth, you know,
The warm glow of a TV.
Yeah, whatever it was doing to my face and
Yeah.
my body and my cells at the time didn't matter because this was awesome. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You may have already answered this, but what was your favorite comic book issue or series?
It's clearly the Watchmen.
Okay.
And then I didn't get them in the individual books when they originally came out.
Yeah.
The first time I got them, a friend of mine was just like, "Hey, man, I just started getting into really reading.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was never a reader. I'm a bit of a slow reader, and I'm a little dyslexic because I'll write from the ground up. Like
Okay.
I don't write from top down, and sometimes I have to like when I would do my math problems in school, I used to get in so much trouble because I could just look at it and go, oh, that's the answer.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, well, show me your work. And I'm like,
Mhm.
there it is. You know? And I had to go to summer school. I ended up not having to do math pretty much later in high school because I was really good at it. But now you could put something in front of me and I just look like that meme, you know, where
Yeah.
the numbers are flying by and
Yeah.
nothing happened. But yeah, no, the Watchmen novella, a friend of mine, Lee Emery, he gave me that and a Superman novella as well. And the Watchmen, it was just,
Yeah.
you know. And then I remember I think I even mentioned this year in the last time we met. In fact, I have it up on the wall right now. I have this the Mist poster
Oh,
signed by
okay.
Thomas Jane and the artist who created this particular Mist poster. And it's the one with Thomas Jane and his hands over his face. It's kind of the mist coming out. And that was from 2007. And that was the same Comic Con that I found out they were looking for people to like play Richard Milhouse Nixon and all the different
Sure.
characters and stuff for Watchmen. And I tried desperately. I was calling everybody
Oh
left and
man.
right. And it just didn't happen. And then obviously,
Yeah.
you know, I got my dream came true when I got to work on the other.
Oh, that's
But yeah,
great.
definitely the Watchmen.
Right on. And finally, favorite comic book movie.
And I absolutely already answered that as well. The 89 Batman.
Okay.
I remember one time, like, do you guys remember the band Gwar?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, for those of you at home that don't know Gwar was this sick, I guess, medalish band that had these big styrofoam costumes that were like axes and bloody and like these beefed up characters. And this particular run was like these kind of like medieval looking characters. And they parked their bus literally right next door in front of my house because they were staying at a neighbor's because they were playing like Coho Rama in Milwaukee. And they were friends with somebody that lived in my town. And I remember running through their bus. And I was like, can I try on this and this? And I was trading them my Batman trading cards because I thought,
Nice.
this is real gravitas. This has value, you know.
Mhm.
And I'm like little, you know.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and I remember being very regretful, you know, about having done that over the years. Going, God, they were great. All the gum I ate, all the, you know. But
Yeah.
it was definitely my favorite movie. And the fact that my cousin Mike Tallwater, he and I would somehow we'd always get a ride to the movie, starting with Batman, all the Batman movies, and we'd somehow have to walk back for no particular reason. Somebody couldn't pick us up. Somebody
Yeah.
made a promise, they didn't keep it. So I remember the last time we went to a Batman movie, we both went in our separate states, got a ride there, and we both walked home while we talked to each other on headsets and stuff like that
Huh.
because we were in different states. But yeah, that movie for sure.
Right on.
Nice.
Right on. I suspect that one will come up a lot as we continue, you know, asking folks those questions. But yeah, right on. So let's we'll kick back to a question I sort of teed up earlier, saying that you chose this movie. So talk about, you already said because Time Cop wasn't available, but why did you want to talk about Galaxy Quest? And then if you want to lead that into your history with Galaxy Quest, if that, or first time seeing Galaxy Quest, we can, go from there.
Yeah, so there's no particular ish about picking Galaxy Quest, except for I do remember it, like most people, kind of being a milestone marker in our lives in '99. I mean, I, '99 was kind of a big, obviously we know it was a big year for film.
Yeah.
But '99 is the reason I'm an actor again, because I was in San Jose. I think the last, I fell in love with a girl that found my information in Wisconsin, somehow found me as I was finishing up like high school, and this is '97 or whatever. And I'm like, anybody that's going to go through the trouble to find my phone number through the internet in 1997,
yeah,
which is not a thing, like, I'm like, kudos to you. I'm going to give you the time. So I moved to San Jose. And I think the only thing I auditioned for while I was up there is I auditioned for Manny in the movie Go. So this was like a downtime, '97, '98, beginning of '99. That was me not acting, really. That was just me like trying out being, engaged and being crazy, and that was my drug phase. And it was like, I'm gonna do ecstasy and go to a rave, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm in the Bay Area in
Yeah.
The late '90s. What do? You go to raves, because but then I decided I was going to go back to Wisconsin. It hadn't worked out with my ex, and I was like, I'm just going to go back to Wisconsin and see what happens from there. Maybe I'll go down to Chicago, whatever, Second City, be on Saturday Night Live. Man, I should have went that way. Oh wait, no. But so I heard Chris Owen, who's my co-star in Angus. His voice was on the October Sky soundtrack, or not soundtrack, preview. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening. I'm working at this men's clothing shop, right below Benedict-Tall in San Jose, with my buddy Barry. And I just hear, "What do you want to know about rockets?" And I went, "Chris, I got to be an actor again. I want to have that feeling that I just got from listening to his voice." And I was like, "That's it." So I moved back to California, and like '99 was it. And then I remember going to see Galaxy Quest, and I remember going to see. I remember getting like the first thing I booked when I moved back was a movie called I think it was called like Hollywood Horror. It turned out to be a tax write-off, but it was like Tia and Tamara Mowry and my best friend Chris, who's in Spider-Man, who I live with now. That's when I met him, and I was just like, I got to go do this thing. And I remember like Phantom Menace, I think came out that year, and leaving that audition, as I was walking out, this girl comes into the audition. She's like, "I can't believe they killed Liam Neeson." And I was like, what?
Yeah.
But I remember Galaxy Quest coming out. I want to say it was like Thanksgiving, Christmas. It was a holiday.
Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a holiday. And I just remember kind of now I'm using the word, I wouldn't have used the word back then, the meta-ness of it, of being an actor, because I can't watch movies like most people. I can't watch movies like most people watch movies,
Sure.
So watching that, and growing up when I did with the friends I did, like, you got a dustpan because I'm gonna drop a bunch of names, but like Shane West and Aaron Paul and Rachel Lee Cook and Chris, all these kids were like Jesse Biel. All these guys were in the movie stuff.
Yeah.
So I had a tough time watching movies because I knew the reality of these people. And so watching that and having that meta feel, I thought that movie Galaxy Quest was like, okay, this is amazing. And also I like Star Trek. So I'm pretty good. I'm pretty happy. This is, it's kind of like the ultimate movie for Trekkies and for me, and even Star Wars fans, really. I mean, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Buck Rogers, you name it. But that's kind of why I was like, you know what, I could pick this movie.
Right on.
And also now I have a couple friends in the movie as well, like the kid that's making fun of him in the bathrooms, talking about what a loser. What that's Todd Giebenheim, who's an actor that was on Raising Hope, the guy that works in the store, long-haired fella. And then Dean Bahar, he plays, one of the Thurians. He's in one of the deleted scenes, I remember. But he's still in there. He works with Tony Shalhoub's character, and he's just like, Tony Shalhoub gives him like, grills him on like, you should, and he's like making him answer the question. But that was Dean Bahar, who was Bitch Boy from Basketball, and and those are friends, so to
Yeah.
watch even Justin Long, he's not a super friend, but I would run into him constantly, and
Yeah.
it's like to see you people that you love in these kind of roles in the kind of film that you're watching, that it's not going to take you out of it, but you're going to have a good time with it. That's
Sure.
kind of why I went with this one.
Right on. Yeah, yeah. Very cool.
And here's why I wanted to do Time Cop. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I will say I just did a TV series called Love and Death with Bruce Miguel,
Mhm.
and I was just like, because he was the chief, and
Okay.
he was also Mayday and Animal House
Oh yeah.
on the motorcycle with the big mustache.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
There you
Okay.
go. D-Day. D-Day.
Oh
Is
yeah,
it D-Day?
DJ.
Yeah,
I think it
D-Day.
is. Yeah.
My history was with this, like, I don't remember. I definitely don't think we saw this in theater. I was surprised that it came out at Christmas time, when I wouldn't have thought that they had Christmas time is a big, release time for movies. And I thought this was kind of one that they put out and was like surprised at how well it did. Not,
Well, to regurgitate some knowledge from watching YouTube stuff and kind of like doing my homework for the episode, because
Yeah.
it's a long time to hang out and not know anything about it. You know what I mean? But they were shooting. So they were shooting Gladiator at the time, same kind of during which they were shooting Gladiator at the time. Oliver Reed had just died, and so their mind was on something. They knew that this was going to be there because remember originally it was Harold Ramis that was going to direct it, and so originally it was going to be one of those kind of movies that you would throw in a holiday that the adults would enjoy, that blah 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 would happen. But in this particular instance, you're thinking Star Trek, you're thinking kids, you're thinking Tim Allen, you're thinking good crossover, I'm good. But when you look at the writing, it's not super kids, but I don't think the studio really cared at that moment. They just knew that they had to go up against Stuart Little.
Right.
And that wasn't happening. I think I saw both in the theater, and I don't know why. I might have smoked weed. I don't know.
Yeah. And thought, let's go see a mouse on a motorcycle.
Oh no, I was on a date. That's it. I was on a date, and because I was like, I was never a big weed smoker, so I was like, why would I go see Stuart Little? I was on a date. I do remember that. But yeah, so that this was probably not the right thing. But the thing is, the movie's so good.
Oh yeah.
Then word of the mouth, and then so.
So this one would have for me would have been a DVD rental with my family, and like we were like I grew up on Home Improvement, so like Tim Allen was like a big name in our household, Toy Story and all that. So this would have been like a draw for us, but I guess not enough to make us go out to the theater. So this would have, definitely been a DVD release, and then we owned it, and so then it was in semi regular rotation at home for the next couple years or whatever. But it's always one that I could throw this one on at any time and enjoy it just as much. But Patrick, what about you? What's your history?
I probably saw this a year or two after it came out.
Okay.
Like in college. Probably because I thought it was like a knockoff like Star Wars or a
making
wannabe
fun of Trek and
or like a wannabe Spaceballs, the superior film. So that was kind of like over Tim Allen at that point, because I was I was too cool at that point.
Right. Yeah.
For the Santa Claus. I mean.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think I saw this until college, so it was probably like a year or two after.
Okay.
And I enjoyed it. I don't think I got as much out of it as most people, because I had like zero history with Star Trek.
Sure.
I knew Shatner from Rescue 911 more than Star Trek. So,
yeah.
I think I grew to appreciate it more, even with this podcast, learning a bit more. So,
Very cool.
I mean, even then I could tell it was really well made and had some jokes that even I could understand as a layman. So I think it's just gotten better with age for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could watch this movie repeatedly right now. It's not one of those. It's kind of like Apollo 13. You can throw it on and be totally happy that it's playing, and you can focus in at any time because you know what's going on around it. And I think what drew me in the theaters to it was I am a Next Generation fan. I am like, I'm not like super silly, but I also am an original Star Trek fan. I was never a fan of any of the spinoffs, really, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, and all that stuff. but those two, like, I was good. Like, I'll watch the movies continuously.
Yeah.
And again, having been behind the camera, and having dealt with my own ego and friends' egos and stuff like that, it's really funny to watch this movie. And also, Sigourney Weaver was hot. Just crazy hot. Also, just having got out of a relationship, just moved back to a lonely place. Sigourney Weaver, nerddom. I'm okay. This is good for me.
I love how the movie starts when we see the show, and we don't realize it's the final episode or whatever. But I just love how we start with it, setting up that nostalgia, and everyone can kind of recognize kind of what they're doing. Even I think Patrick, like, even if you don't know Star Trek, you understand like this was a show.
Yeah.
Then it cuts to like the convention that we see, and that even that makes sense. Like, but I just love seeing those actors, pretending to be actors, pretending to be in an old show. Great way to set it up, and then to cut into the convention with all the aliens in the audience. Even like that's just world building. That just we don't know who all these people are dressed up as, but we can understand like in that show's run, they must have had all kinds of alien species, and that people are dressed up as in the audience. So it's nice little touch of world building that I liked.
Right. Yeah, you definitely know the realm that you're in once you start. You're like, oh yeah, and you immediately can associate whatever with a Klingon, whatever with a Vulcan, whatever, and you're like, yep, I know where I'm at. This is fine. Why am I even wearing pants? You get it.
Yeah. We've all been there.
Right.
Oh, he's the only one that saw it in a theater, so that's concerning.
That's true.
Why am I even wearing pants? This is so good. Hi. They're not too strict about these kind of laws now. They will be in the future, but don't look at me. Don't worry, it was a 21 and over showing.
Yeah. Oh, good.
So yeah, this is the part I did know is like Shatner's like ego, and
okay.
Like, so I knew he was like the Shatner, Tim Allen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I must have gotten that through osmosis or something, just in pop culture or something.
I love seeing like they're all, in this, the green room or whatever. And they're all miserable with this, they hate having to do this. They're pissed off at him because he's late and he's a bit of a prima donna. And he comes in and you don't expect him to be excited by all this, but he loves doing this. He loves doing these conventions. He loves coming out and being the center of attention. And, I like that when they show Tim Allen's character, like, up until a point when he gets, insulted by Charlie's friend, like everything about this is what he loves doing, so I like seeing that. And then they have to convince Alan Rickman, like, the show must go on.
Well, two things about that is I guess the writer. That's something I learned about it. The writer actually got the job, the guy who rewrote the script that we know now, because he had the idea that he would love being the captain.
Right.
Everybody else was like, "No, he hates it. And then boom, you get this like brilliant piece of work. Because I know a lot of actors that would love to be doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
In the
oh, sure.
I'll tell you that much. Yeah.
I found myself having a really hard time watching this and taking notes because I kept getting sucked into just watching it. This is kind of one of those movies that I just want to watch it.
Well, when you got somebody like Alan Rickman on screen,
yeah,
you're like, what are you doing in this movie? And is it that good?
Right.
Oh my God. Yeah. And it turns out, it's extremely that good.
Mm-hmm.
See, it must be that I've watched it a million times at this point now that I pay more attention to Sam Rockwell's face and expressions throughout, and Tony Shalhoub's weirdness.
Yes,
lack of like emotion. I don't know what it is. It's just
Well, apparently he's more. Like being stoned.
Right?
He's playing it as if he's stoned. Because he's eating in every scene, he's drinking, he's doing something,
I think I never realized until this viewing, when they go down to the planet to get the beryllium sphere, he's still holding his little round paper sack of snacks.
Yeah.
And that's meant to be the running thing through the movie. He's snacking the entire time because he's stoned. But then there's also a thing about him, like he's playing, what is it? Tech Sergeant Chen, and his stage name is Fred Kwan. And I guess that's supposed to be, I read that it's supposed to be a reference to like David Carradine playing, as a white man playing an Asian character in Kung Fu. And so that's
Yeah,
what, like, this
exactly.
guy kind of made his mark playing an Asian character. It's just, it comes across as so weird, especially with the way he plays it, as trying to play a stoned character in a movie where they can't say he's stoned because of the rating and all that. So
No, he handles it brilliantly. Yeah, I mean, even the
yeah,
first moment where they all get beamed up or everything,
yeah.
and he's
What's with
like,
those guys?
he's butting he's at the like machine,
Yeah.
and you think it's a vending machine, but
Hmm.
it's not. It's a microwave, and and he's just staring at it, and there's buttons for different things that you're cooking, and he
Yeah.
just turns back, and he's like, "You guys got any change?" And they're just gone, and
Yeah.
he's in front of a mic. It's not a vending machine;
Yeah.
it's a microwave. So I love that. Yeah, it's pretty damn priceless. But like even like everybody to a T, I think captures that dual characterness. In fact, one of the things I liked later on in the film, after like the first day when he
Hmm.
or the first day when he snapped at Justin Long's character,
Yeah.
and Gwen is like, oh no, it's not right, it's not like him. And they cut to Alan Rickman, Sir Alexander Dave,
Yeah.
and Gwen in their apartments, but their apartments are super dinky small.
Right.
Like,
Oh,
like
yeah.
literally, Sir Alexander goes like he's on the phone cord and he's in his kitchen and he's
Yeah.
back, So, and he's still wearing the helmet. I was like, you know what? That's so cool because in all of these movies, they would have a massive apartment in New York and
Mhm.
be out of work actors. You know what I mean? So I see. I can't look at a movie like everybody,
Sure.
but I loved it. I thought that was pretty genius.
Yeah. I love meeting the Thermians in the convention, and like they're all so great. I read that Enrico Colantoni, like, they cast him as the lead guy and then let him kind of come up with the speech pattern, the mannerisms, and then they went from there, but then everyone kind of had to
Well,
learn from
actually,
him.
what had happened was his first audition, because I watched an interview with him. His first audition was he comes in and does it, and the director, I think his name's Dean. Is it Dean the name
Dean
of the director?
Pariseau. Yeah.
Yeah. So Dean Pariseau, who did Home Fries for this, he's sitting there and he's looking. He's like, "It's good. Thanks for coming in." And he's starting to walk out. And he goes, and you could see that something was tentatively on his
Yeah.
mind. And he turns around and he does it. He's like, "Well, listen, I got this thing where I can resonate with like these different spots in my face and my head and my voice." And he's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, I talk like this
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh my God, that's." And so, but they didn't tell him he got the part. They just showed his video to the other actors and said, "Can you do that?" And
Yeah.
and Missy Pyle, I think, was the
Yeah.
first one to nail it.
Yeah.
And that's how he created the voice without even having the part yet.
Mm,
And he didn't know until
that's great.
other people were starting to be cast. It was great.
I love, like, I really paid attention to all the Thermians, like from the once you see them, and till
Mhm.
like throughout the movie, and notice like when they're walking around, when they're not, when you don't see them as these squid, aliens, when you see them as human characters, they look like they're uncomfortable, like almost like Edgar in Men in Black,
Yeah.
where they're stuffed into a human suit and they're walking around all, very weird because they just don't know how to move these bodies. And it's so funny to watch just the physical performance, throughout the movie, of these characters. I love it so much.
Well, Patrick Breen, who's the guy that is like the
Quillick,
right hand man. Yeah, he right hand man for oh God, what is Rickman's character's name?
Alex, Dane.
Yeah. So
Yeah, what is his character's name?
yes, yeah. So him, uh,
Lazarus, Dr. Lazarus.
yeah, Dr. Lazarus. Patrick came up with the walk because of the marionettes
Yeah.
in Spaceman. Was it 152? I can't remember what the name is.
Yeah,
But
one of the marionette shows from.
But he came up with that. He said they would bust extras' chops if they couldn't get it right, and like call them out while they were shooting. It was fantastic. But the way that everybody was uniform, because I've been on sets where extras, like, they're not in the loop and they're just doing their thing. But when you have a full flow, like working on Megalopolis, our people that stood in for us, our stand-ins, they weren't called stand-ins, they were called understudies, because they knew everything you were to do from top to bottom, including everyone's lines.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I'd never seen that before. So I'd never seen such an in-sync set before. And I could tell by this particular move, like, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I enjoyed their clapping, going the wrong way with it. And, they were close. So close.
So good. They're right on. They're like me with my entire family. It's just real awkward. Real awkward. Real tomato ketchup, Eddie?
Oh, nice.
But so
them taking him up into space, and he thinks that he's there for this gig, one of these appearances that he just does. I like that he takes it seriously because he wants a limo, and he expects sets in the garage and this sort of thing. But once he's there, like, he's like, no, I don't want to put on a costume, and I'm just gonna I'll say a few lines that I would be known for, maybe, and then it's like, yeah, just hit him with both barrels, and then he's like, I'm out of here. Just how casually and dismissive he is of everything that's going on around him. Tim Allen plays it beautifully.
I mean, he's got another gig in 15 minutes in Van Nuys. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the best is when they go to pick him up for the first time to get him into that limo, and that they're essentially like trying to get him to come along, and he's like waking up from this massive hangover.
Yeah,
and I've worked with the performers too. It's like their downtime is just drinking. That is what they do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God bless you. If you can do both worlds, God bless you. And this guy does both worlds. But he's got this thing where he's like looking for his shoe, and he totally just paint out to all four of them. And because they are who they are, they have no clue that this is any kind. And they're like, it's so great to be in the presence of greatness. It's just like nothing but paint. He's like, please help me find my shoe. And they start looking up.
Yeah, looking up, and they can't even look around. Normally, or.
And that's besides Missy Pyle, it's
Rainn Wilson.
Rainn Wilson, yeah. I'm from The Office. My brain is just like, yeah. And Jed, the fellow that plays Teb.
Yeah, Jed Reese.
Jed Reese, dude. That guy. I'm trying to think of the movie that he did where Deadpool. He's the guy that
the
Deadpool.
offer.
Yeah. And I'm like, and when I saw him in that, I was just like, man, you don't want to mess with that guy. You don't know who he is, what he is. But that whole crew, I mean, I feel like each and every one of them fell out of Second City. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just how well they're able to play with this material and not force it. So very impressive. But yeah, the going now we're on set, as it were, and the set is just beautiful, and he just yeah, okay. And like this beautiful creature that looks like $1 million budget is Saris or whatever.
Oh, Saris, yeah.
He's just like up there, and he's like, oh, that's great. You guys good
that's
stuff.
Really good.
drinking his Coke, like I am right now. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
I am always blown away at how good they made Saris, and how he feels like a Trek alien. I love that creature design, aesthetics that they have going on, the ship design. I mean, everything's kind of green, but you can still tell they're drawing from a lot of Klingon, a lot of ship design is a little bit like Bird of Prey. But yeah, I love it. Love the Saris.
There was something that seemed really familiar to it, and it just got confirmed to me the other day. Was it's the J.J. Abrams Star Trek with is it who? Oh gosh, help me out.
Eric Bana.
Yeah, Eric Bana.
Yeah. The Romulan.
Eric Bana and his ship is a total copy lift from even the way he plays it. So he and apparently JJ was like, study him and play it just like him.
Okay.
And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you talk about an homage to a great film, and his ship gets it head on, just like, later on. But
spoilers.
I love how
we won't get there yet.
Yeah. I love how you meet him here. He's on screen for, I don't know, maybe a total of, 45 seconds, maybe, a minute and a half or something like that, whatever. But then, sorry, Jason, he dismissively just, let him have it. And then the next time you see Saris, he's got this eye patch that's like welded onto his skull, because he did get, like, giving them both barrels, like, it was effective, but just not enough to completely destroy them, but left a lasting mark, which I just love that detail, because it's kind of one of those things that I think maybe on first watch you wouldn't notice that he didn't have the metal eye patch the first time around.
No, yeah.
But it's a nice little inclusion, and I know later in the movie he has one metal arm. I'm guessing he didn't have at the first scene. Just a cool little,
Well, the patch is an homage to Christopher Plummer.
Yeah.
From
as Chang.
Yeah, exactly. Was that New Country?
Undiscovered Country.
Undiscovered Country, and that was actually one of my favorite Star Treks. Besides
we rated that one pretty high, I think. Let's see.
And then the next time you see him, we're in front of like the Fry's Electronics or whatever.
Yeah, by Grabthar's hammer. What a savings.
Yeah.
Dude, he does it so well. He just wants to kill himself at that moment. He just wants to he wants to go back in time and never have been that character. And he's just such a brilliant, like, I can identify with that sometimes, like, where you're just like, oh, that's great. But you're just like, I don't want to.
His voice is like the perfect voice for somebody that just doesn't want to be there.
Yes.
Like, this is the Snape voice that you get around this time.
What's the movie where he was the voice of the robot? The space movie. Galaxy. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
With
Sam Rockwell.
Yeah, with Sam Rockwell, and he's just like, okay, it's like the Eeyore of people.
Yeah,
it's amazing. He's so brilliant, and the thing is, because we know he's such a brilliant actor,
right?
It's even more painful. That just goes to more great casting in this film.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Jim Carrey did not become a Thermian. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what he's doing at the time.
In *99, I mean, he's riding pretty high.
Is that Living Color, or where's he at?
No, that's after, like, Batman Forever was 95. Ace Ventura,
right.
Batman Forever, Cable Guy, Liar.
I love Cable Guy.
That was like from 94 to 97. So.
I deleted Batman Forever out of my brain head. I'm sorry. Like, I got to go back and put you back in there and get rid of math. Get rid of acting and stuff like that.
Right.
Just go back. But and then so we're basically the whole, like, we're gonna end up doing this. He's like, dude, this stuff's real. You gotta come, and you're like, oh no, well, it could be work. That's pretty brilliant.
It's a good way to get everybody, including Guy. I love that Guy gets brought in. This time watching it, I really wish that Justin Long's character got to go with them. Like, somehow he just got somehow scooped up with the rest of them, because I'd like to have, like, that super fan be on this adventure with them, and he could be the one, the encyclopedia of knowledge, going along with them, like, well, what if we tried this? I don't know.
I disagree with you in the fact that he is with them because he is us. So when we want to speak to the screen, when we want to say, dude, come on, have you not seen this movie? You got to do this, you got to do that. That's when they bring Justin Long back into the scene.
Yeah.
And then connects them with the Vox thing.
Yeah. It just comes so late in the movie. I mean, they bring him in at the climax. I kind of just wish his character was a presence a few times more. Maybe they somehow check in with him for advice throughout the movie. Maybe that would kind of quench that.
I feel I agree to disagree. Okay. I think he's in there the perfect amount of time. He was almost not in there.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah.
And thank God for Spielberg saying no, he's got to be there. He's got to be there, because they were going to cut it down. They were going to get rid of him. They thought, and then they kept him. And I'm glad they kept the aliens the way they did too. They're on hidden form, the octopi.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, talk about some creature work. That stuff is cool. I had a full fake me made at the Winston house, special effects house once, and did 18 hours in a chair. Like dedication they put into their work is redonkulous. You know, I have nothing but respect for these guys, and then for me to look at it and watch it on screen and be like, yep, I believe that that's what they would look like. You know what I mean? With all of my knowledge, you know, that that I've accrued from nothing, including their beaming up process. You know, like, which is not beaming up, but it's like
the gel.
It's like a space loogie.
Yeah,
jump into this condom and good luck. You know, like it's amazing. And speaking of that, they're always like freaking out when they've landed when they come through. But again, back to Tony Shalhoub's character, Tommy God, who was Tony? What was Tony's character's name?
It's hard when they're playing an actor playing a character. So Tech Sergeant Chen is kind of the I
so
think of him
when
as.
Chen comes out, he's just like, "Whoa, that was different."
Yeah,
you know, you're just like, "Yes."
And then Jason's like, "What's wrong with these guys?" And he's like, "I don't know, just no idea."
I thought that was priceless. I think that's how I would feel if I were being beamed up in the original Star Trek sense of the word. I'm like, what just happened? You know, like,
I'd definitely be Sam Rockwell. I'd be Guy.
Yeah.
Just
get it. You get
delayed response. Like my body hasn't caught up to what just happened.
Yeah. right. He screams too, right? He just,
he just goes out of nowhere. Yeah. Like it's
and
5 minutes past.
He has some of the best moments in this, this script. You know, and I heard him talking about how, like, I think David Mamet said this is one of the 4 top scripts he's ever liked or whatever it is.
I can see that.
And this is 4. You know, like this is number 3 out of 4. And I'm like, I don't know if it's a script because a lot of these guys ad-libbed.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they had the skeleton there, but this is some real chops on these people. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, and Sam being the undiscovered country that he was at the time, you know, he just crushed it, you know, just all faith in him. And to talk about holding your own against a room full of powerhouses, you know, you're just like, okay, this is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's almost playing Guy in real life in that room based on who he's with.
Right.
Like every movie or TV show I do, I am Guy. That's how I feel. I've just never felt any different for me. And I get it 100%. And if you feel like you can walk out of there holding your own, you did good, kid. You know what I mean? And that's how I feel good. You know, I feel for freaking Guy's character. He's just like, you did good, kid. And then he gets, he gets his propers at the end of the movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I just love the last name riff, like that he goes on. Tell me my last name. Tell me.
You have a last name?
Do I?
What is it? What is it?
And then at the end, he gets his last name.
Yeah.
I just.
But they do something pretty amazing in this movie, though. That I mean, it's like almost every intro to the next scene reminds you of what kind of movie this is, like when they see the ship for the first time, or when they're being beamed up for the first time, or when they don't believe him for the first time, or when you see the kids. I will say that they did a massive, just a incredible job, the director, continuity, script supervisor, actors, of making us feel like we were actually having these moments, and make us actually experience the awe with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it borrows on, in Star Trek the motion picture, when the crew that we've known and loved in Star Trek for so many years, when we see them see the Enterprise, which they're at that time, they should be super familiar with, but it is like it's a new Enterprise, so it is new to them, but we get to see it for the first time and on a big screen, and they spend 7 minutes, I think, flying through and looking at the Enterprise with the the crew, and they kind of do that here. I wish they would have gone a little further and kind of extended how long, and kind of make it a joke, let's have long shots of this spaceship, and kind of.
Well, then you realm into the Spaceballs thing with the "We Break for Nobody," where it's like
Sure.
that extreme long shot of the shit,
Yeah.
and it's
Classic film, Travis.
I
Classic
know.
film.
Yeah.
So it's the trick because they thought it was going to be the next Spaceballs, and that was probably what it would have been with Ramis behind the wheel. Rest his soul. And I think some of the stuff we wanted, we've already got in other films, which I think for me makes this a perfect movie, because what this does is it falls onto those moments and acknowledges moments that you want, acknowledges moments that I want, acknowledges only 3 or 4 of the moments that Patrick wants, which he's really greedy, and I didn't want to say anything, but I get it. I get where you're going with that.
The whole explanation of the historical documents is brilliant, and I did read that was kind of where part of this movie came from, was sort of what if actors from a show like this interacted with real aliens? Like, what if the two sort of collided and the actors had to went to space on a real space adventure kind of thing, and that's part of where the idea for this kind of came from. And it's such a good explanation, is that these aliens just received TV signals that we know are being broadcast, and that it's not like this is the only thing that they've ever seen, because they reference Gilligan's Island. Great joke of those poor people, so it makes you wonder, what else did they get? Somehow Galaxy Quest is what they chose as this is the beacon that we need to sail by. I love the concept of just aliens out there receiving these transmissions and interpreting them, because they don't have a concept of deception and acting and performance. It's so great.
Part of this movie that blows my mind is that they set everything up to work to their movements on the show. The pilot, even she's got to talk to the computer for everyone. The fact, I've seen in fan films before, and this is taking that to godly levels of recreating something, because they actually turned it into reality.
And the food that
I just
Alex
love
has
that,
to eat.
I just love that they could match their movements so that they could actually maybe do fly the ship, and
they reverse engineered all of this amazing technology based on seeing hand movements and
even the Omega get out of jail free card.
The Omega, was it Omega 13?
You
know what the thing is if they had followed any other thing they would have found in said capsule, I mean, what would they have done? Would they have come to Earth and just reenacted JR, or who shot JR? So I guess you would have to pick the thing that most identifies with them reaching out. Which in our world would be Star Trek.
That makes sense, because what Roddenberry wanted to do was show this is an idyllic, society, and where they go in the 400 years in the future. So
exactly. And they absolutely crushed the fact that they waited till they're ready for them. They tried to do it on their own. Because obviously they show the boss later on, the other captain of the ship, but he couldn't do it, so they're like, all right, well, let's go to the people we got this idea from, and let's see if they can do it, So that's brilliant writing in and of itself. The fact that they weren't lazy about, okay, we built it, all right, bring them in, what I mean? So I got a lot of respect for that. I mean, God knows what were to happen now if they were to look at whatever's out there from us. They come back with stepbrother porn or something, and we'd be like, no, that's not. This is all. It's pretend. It's fake. It's okay. And then so thank God we were much more wholesome. What a good time. What a good era to pull from. God bless. But it's what music are kids going to be listening to now? And so what are they going to get in the future? What are we going to send out to these aliens now? I think this is the right time for this movie too. When it came out, the right period, the right transition. We're thinking about Matrix at this point. We're thinking about. I mean, this is almost saying and Matrix to me is also very meta. I think
Yeah.
it's a good out with the old, in with the new on accident. Like I feel like if somebody was like grand planning this, they'd be like, all right, we're gonna bring out the Matrix, and then we're gonna bring out Galaxy Quest for the old folks, and there we go. And then Kevin Feige will come in and superheroes and meta and good luck. And DC will do their darndest.
It's interesting that like this came out when I mean some things were being revived from the 20 years prior that this is kind of based on what we see at the end of the movie, but like now so many shows are being revived. It's just part of the entertainment sort of landscape. It seems like that now 20 years later with this movie or whatever 25, people are still talking about we need to bring Galaxy Quest back and do a sequel or series or that conversation has never ended. But it's like now in our modern time, it's like we are still getting all these revival shows. I mean, there's a new Matlock show,
Mama Matlock. I mean, Kathy Bates was my mom and Angus.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Yeah. And I watched that by Eric Olson, the friend too. He was in Dumb and Dumberer.
Oh yeah.
And he produced that project. I ended up reading a friend of mine for that, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a good pilot. I watched it. I love it. It's a great show.
Right on.
And I'm okay. Like I was happy when they brought back Perry Mason. I was happy when and I was like, oh. I had a call from my agent. They're like, yeah, they want you to be the Fatty Arbuckle character on that. And then my agent just like quit and like lost communication with that whole thing. I was like, no. I was like, those shows, like I'm good with that. Shows I'm good with. Film for me, I don't want to see it over and over again. Shows, I kind of want to see it over and over again because it's a show. It's like watching Star Trek and getting a spinoff and enjoying the spinoff and so on and so forth. I think with film for me, especially like this film, is we're not really talking about movies in this film. We're talking about a television show. We're talking about a cast of people that was on a limited run of a show that people wanted more and more and more of. And it was the same for Star Trek. It's literally giving us that hole that we were missing. And while Matrix at that time was bringing us into a new world of things and a new way to look at special effects and a new way to look at being out of place and out of time and out of space in the exact same place on Earth, this takes us to another spot completely. What our 60s and 70s. I mean, my dad had all these models of like the Apollo missions and all that stuff, and he would build them, and that's what he did. He didn't have cell phones. That was in his box with all his 8-tracks. Like it was limited fun, and this is what my dad was like. Yeah, I'm doing this, and I found like a little bubbler. Like a little fucking freaking weed smoking bubbler, and I was like, and there was like a little nug in there too, so I took a hit off. It was a terrible mistake, but I wanted to share a bowl with my pop. And I did technically. And I think about this movie. I was like, oh, my dad would have loved this. He would have ate this up like nobody's business, So, but he wasn't around for that. But this is one of those things where when I watch this, I think of my dad. I think of watching Doctor Who with him. I think about, and this movie really captures that for a whole generation. And I think that's what the 99 movies and late 90s movies and things like that really did, was just grabbed a hold of something nostalgic and special, which is kind of what we've been trying to do in film and television now. But it's not, we're grabbing too soon. We're running out of things to grab.
Because this was around the time of the Brady Bunch movie as well.
Right.
I feel like that was early 90s, wasn't it? Like that was kind of one of the.
Yeah, it was a little earlier than this.
Okay.
A couple years earlier.
Okay.
And like the Beverly Hillbillies also.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot.
Yeah,
of
that was
retro.
Definitely after Angus. Yeah, because Kevin Conley was in that.
Okay.
But yeah, but they treat it with such respect. Like that fight, the second fight scene with Saris's ship, and and the
NSEA protector.
Not
the green thing. He's getting closer to the red thing. The red,
which it's my favorite. That's one of my favorite moments in there. Is like actually one of my favorite moments is even when he brings out the ship. But that moment where he's like the red thing, getting closer. and he's about to pass out.
Yeah.
I think that's so
I think we're
brilliant.
the green thing.
Yeah. And meanwhile the aliens, the Thermians are just watching them going, they
Right.
got this. You don't see nervousness in them. They're
These
not
guys are the
emoting.
pros. Yeah.
Mhm. And they just hustle their way into, and I think really Guy is the one that guides them through the episode, if you will, and Guy is us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, even without having Justin Long in there,
Sure.
you do have the other half of Brandon, which is Guy.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I love that how they play Guy and Fred off of each other, because they end up having to go down to this planet for a spare a replacement beryllium sphere because they just got their asses kicked, and they get down on the planet and Fred just casually like starts to open the hatch. And Guy freaks out, is there air? You don't know. And that is a line that my wife and I quote almost weekly for no reason at all. We'll just, if one of us does something that is silly, we'll just hit each other with, is there air? So that's just one of those
That's
things
love.
that like we've been quoting that for 20 years.
Travis,
There's
that's
another
love.
one.
Hold on to that.
Yeah.
Hold on to that love. That's
The
love.
other one is a Gwen quote when they're talking about how annoying it is that she just has to repeat the computer. And when she says, I have one job, it's stupid, but I'm going to do it. Like, that's another one that we quote, almost weekly, maybe monthly, but just, I don't know why those two lines are locked into my wife and I, like our
Nice.
dialogue, so.
My ex-wife and I, we didn't have as many things in common, hence she's my ex. But we did have one thing that we would continuously do. It's speaking of, it actually ties into this because originally they wanted Kevin Kline to play Jason Nesmith, and he was in Dave. And Dave, when he first has to go out and he has to interact with Sigourney Weaver, his wife, Helen, and they go out and they wave and they come back in, and he's only supposed to say one thing. And whenever my ex would do something good for me and she didn't want to do it, I'd be like, thanks for doing this, Helen. And I would just walk away and she got it. She understood and we were good. And then she would say it to me and I would laugh. But yeah, kudos, keep her.
Oh yeah.
Good. So it's decided.
What's that?
Right. You said, "Oh yeah, we'll keep her." Good. So it's decided.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's so much about the show. The one job on the ship, when they're in their like ready room or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they really handle this, and there's a bit of the Next Generation to it,
Yeah.
And that's kind of really what keeps you going, because when your mind is not listening to the clever ass lines or trying to identify, like, there's a dude in that scene. It's one of the scenes. It's either when they first meet him, but he's like the lawyer on Scrubs.
Yes, yeah, he's one of the Thermians. Yeah,
and you just keep seeing it. But
Sam Lloyd.
Yeah, but when they're not being hilarious, your mind is studying everything else about the film. Yeah. How are the doors opening? Where are the people sitting? What are they talking about? What's their deal? Who's in the background? This movie is such eye candy. Yeah. You don't find yourself in a lot of movies looking at the background and talking about the architecture or what's going on. Not a ton of times. I mean, in some cases you do, but this is one of those movies in a movie that should be so spoofy that you don't even stare at all the stuff. You're looking at everything, and they don't miss.
Yeah,
it doesn't miss.
I like the plot of the movie. I mean, it follows. It's such a well-trod formula for so many Trek episodes. We got the ship got damaged. We got to go, on down to a planet, find a replacement thing. We're gonna get into a fight with a alien species. We're gonna come back and repair the ship and kick some alien ass.
Yeah. Preferably a rock.
Wait a minute,
planet.
I haven't seen it yet. Don't ruin it.
Sorry. But I like it because we know this world so well, because of how they've done such a good job of like basing it on so many familiar things, that it's okay that they're giving us kind of a familiar or a fairly routine plot, because we're really interested in what the actors are doing, what the characters are doing, not what the mission is,
And this
Yeah.
planet with the rocks is a perfect example of something I didn't get
Okay.
until I saw the movie Paul. And
Okay.
they reenacted like a battle in the desert.
Oh.
And then I realized that this was riffing on that. So
Okay.
finally made my way there. But yeah, I had no idea that this rock planet was kind of riffing on Star Trek locations back then.
Meant to evoke like the arena episode where he fights the Gorn. But yeah, so much good stuff so much good material in that sequence. I love when Gwen is like convinced that these little aliens are like, oh, they're cute, they're friendly. Oh, here's one that's hurt. And then Guy is freaking out. And then she finally sees the ugly side of them. And she says, we have to get out of here before one of these things kills Guy. Buying into the whole, the red shirt of it all. Like,
and they throw that line. They throw that line away so perfectly.
Yes.
Like it's not super focused on her when she says it. She's doing her damn thing, and it's just first nature for her to say that.
Because they've all accepted that, like, Guy, you will be the one to die because you're not one of us, Yeah. So funny.
I got a little trivia for you. What that scene where he fights the Gorn, what other famous movie, and I'll give you a little clue, is there'll be duplicates or evil robot us's that throw them off of the cliff.
Yeah. Bogus Journey.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the same cliff, man.
Now I gotta look at that movie again. This is why you can keep going back to movies. You watch one movie, it makes you learn something about an older movie.
Yeah.
When the geeks run the house, I'm always down to watch the movie because they are in it full hearty and they're going to give you stuff to look at continuously. And you're just like, oh yeah, oh my god, yes, oh my god. I remember. So I was working on Megalopolis. So I was working on Megalopolis, and Francis was sitting there and he's watching this footage, and he's almost trying to recreate this footage, kind of verbatim as far as timing goes, right? And I'm just like watching him, just like totally geek out and be in his happy spot, And he's like, "That's it," and you're like, "Oh my god." He's so excited. Somebody's gonna watch this, see that, know that, and just be like, "Yes!"
Nice.
And it's like those moments in film are kind of that's what I love about film too, more so than the film itself. Is like I do love those moments where it gets so involved in like I'm connecting with somebody else,
right?
That I've never met before, and I'm like, I feel the same way you do right now as when you were making that or when you wrote that or when you what have you, and that's pretty awesome, and this movie invokes all of that to a T. Bradbury gone too soon.
And so we got I guess we got the beaming up thing here.
The pig lizard.
Oh my god, yeah, that thing, that's one of my favorite practical effects in a movie of that era. Yeah, just that tongue on you. I think they did a real good job of like recreating that in what was the first reboot of this. You go ahead.
Are you gonna say in Force Awakens when the thing licks John Boyega?
Yeah, it doesn't not feel like the same creature almost in a way. It feels like an homage. It feels like, and again, he, it's so dead on. That you're just like, you looked at that and you said, I want that. It's just like, when he had Eric Bana do the, the copying of stairs, it's like you will continuously throughout our times, if they can get away with it, see that stuff done and go, oh, that feels like memories to me. That feels right. So absolutely.
Yeah, I had a nightmare after watching this about this scene because of the eye that's still out in the open, and I'm like, it can see itself. Like I'm just like, that part I never noticed until the last watching, and I'm like, oh, I hate this even more now. And I definitely had a weird dream about it.
That's funny. I love when it gets turned inside out, and it feels like we talked about the thing, so many episodes ago, and how beautiful all those practical, creatures and monsters are in the thing. This feels like, some of Rob Bottin's work in that.
I still stand by the fact that David Keith is a thing
Okay.
because he's got no breath.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got no breath in
I
front
like
of him.
the whole, like, McCready was testing him because he had alcohol or had gasoline or kerosene in there and offered him a drink, and he drank it and didn't notice. That's the theory that I like.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the inside outness, do you guys remember that commercial? They were that 90s spoof commercial they were playing about it was either like a Sunkist drink or whatever.
Oh yeah,
and the
yeah,
kids
yeah.
are at it, and then they like all run into each other and become this gnarly beast thing.
No, I
'Cause
don't
the
remember
kids
that
just,
one.
oh my God, I'll send that to you when this is over.
Okay.
But he's 100% right. When that thing's looking at itself and it's inside out, you're just like the pain
Yeah.
that thing is feeling, and then just nonchalant, he's like, it's inside out.
Yeah.
And he goes, I heard that. And then he goes, then it explodes, and he goes, and it exploded.
The only thing that like hits weird for me with that whole sequence is that Fred goes from being this unaffected character, go with the flow, and then now he's suddenly like very unsure of himself and has self-doubt. That it's almost like they transposed him and Guy, you know what I mean? Like, it just he hasn't been
It's pressure.
nervous before. Yeah.
He could turn the captain inside out and explode him.
Yeah.
Granted, the power of love saves the day, but
right.
I think that's it, though. I think it's that pressure. It's because the other stuff that's going to happen to him, like if he gets screwed up by the beam up, or he gets blown up because he does something wrong, like, everybody's going to get blown up. It's not him having to worry about one particular life, because he's like, all right, if I'm gone, I'm gone. It's happening, But now he's got to focus on somebody that's not him.
Yeah.
A one person, a one-on-one, somebody that's known for years. So, like, you ever drink? You ever just have a drink or two? Sure. I don't drink much, but and you're just like, that broke. That was my favorite lamp. Oh man, that's a bummer. But then, like, if it were gonna fall and hit the kitty in the head or something like that, you're like, no, like that's the difference, I think, between those modes. But there is a deleted scene though, where he first comes on the ship, and that's where Dian Bahar came in. Dian Bahar's got this whole scene, and you can find it on the deleted scenes or whatever. And he's like, yeah, so the Brilliant Sphere is giving out this weird blah 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 vibe, and he's like, well, what do you think it is? Because he's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, we thought you could. And Tony Shalhoub's like, but what do you think that means? And he does it repeatedly until finally Dian's like, that blah 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 blah, and he's like, yeah. And Chen's like, all right, like I did it, So, but because it doesn't have high stakes for him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But going back to the movie, it's like, that moment, he's got to take care of Jason, his friend,
well,
and he kind of gets it.
Lilari, I think is her name, the Missy Pyle, like, gets that confidence boost that he needs. It's a little bit back to the future, where he, when George gets up the courage to protect Lorraine, like
get your damn octopus tentacles off her. Yes, Lilari. Missy Pyle. This is the first time I ever was really introduced to Missy Pyle as a performer, and I thought she did brilliant. And apparently they made the whole love scene between those two, Chen or Shalhoub and her, was because of how well she was doing on set, and the fact that there was only one other female.
Right.
Really being, you know what I mean? So it's like,
there's some in the background, but none that you.
And she crushes it. She has an innocence about her. The fact that her eyes are so wide, it's like, and she's got a childlike quality to her face. You kind of understand what the Thermians are going through a little bit through her too, as opposed to Mathazar. Mathazar, is kind of like their conscience, if you will,
Yeah.
and she's kind of like their innocence. Her and
Yeah.
Quellic are kind of like the innocence of them.
Yeah.
You know, not so much Ted. Ted's just hilarious, you know.
Yeah.
When he's
Yeah.
like, you know, so
The fact that this movie has like these two performances back to back. One is sort of Tim Allen or Jason going against Saris, and when Saris realizes, oh shit, you guys are actors. Oh, okay. So when he has that realization and they kind of have that moment where they both understand who each other are, and then you get the performance right after that where he forces Jason to explain
Yeah.
Mathazar, and that interaction, those like those that whole sequence it's so good. It like
Yeah. It's way better than it should
the
be
rest
in a
of this,
movie like
exactly.
this. Yeah.
Like it seems like this could all just be a good comedy, but then you get scenes like this, and it's emotional, it's heartbreaking, it is so unbelievably good that, and the actors all nail it. Tim Allen does a fantastic job delivering all that, and it seems so much better than a silly, spoof kind of parody kind of movie should have. But oh man.
well, that was
Like-
the day that Spielberg was on set.
Right.
That's the
Yeah.
one day he came to set, and he basically the director Dean said, "Listen, this is the only one where I don't want you to have fun. I don't want you to be funny. I don't want you to be him.
Yeah.
You just got to tell us who you are and
Yeah.
that it's a lie." And man, he nails it. And I think that's really the heart and soul of this movie.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you
Oh,
just
yeah.
watch the whole movie on mute and watch that moment and watch everybody else's expression, apparently Rickman had famously said on set something as soon as the scene was done. He said, because Tim was upset and he was like, "Can I please go to my trailer? I don't I don't like feeling like this." And he was just like, "Wow, he finally discovered acting." You know, that's
Wow.
Yeah.
because they were a little contentious against each other on
Sure.
set just
Okay.
because of what there's a bit of method to Tim Allen
Sure.
in this, and then there's a bit of a performance level of who you should
Yeah.
be on set.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
And
and he's
during
like, yeah.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say he's a comedian, that became an actor. So,
Fairly quick rise in
Yeah,
popularity
yeah.
and
Um,
yeah.
so I could see
Versus
that.
Yeah,
an
from
actor
getting
who's
trouble for cocaine and
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
to jail for it to
Yeah.
being stand up to being
Yeah.
I love stand up comedy, and I'll always respect. I used to do stand up. I did a bunch of Comedy Store and on Sunset and stuff like that, and like haha and things like that. And it's just one of those things where like to come from that to do this to be who he was at that point, and not just that point. You got to think what came out. The two films that came out were the Santa Claus and Buzz Lightyear. When he played Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah.
Toy Story.
Toy
Toy Story.
Story.
Yeah.
But he had been working on Toy Story for what, 2 years prior?
Probably,
2 or 4
yeah.
years,
Yeah.
up to 2 to 4 years prior. So he's been trying to make this transition, this thing happen, and this is the opportunity, and he
Yeah.
delivers.
Oh yeah. I will give a shout out to Saris because I thought even with
Yeah.
all that junk on him, I hated him in the scene.
Oh yeah.
Like he came across like he even had some facial expressions that came through with all that makeup on.
Yeah.
There was just like smarmy, like I
Yeah.
don't know,
Like he's
you could tell he was
enjoying.
Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
yeah.
That and a
I'm
shout
gonna
out to
look
his
up his
little
name real
legs.
quick.
It's something
Fred,
Sachs,
right?
Robin Sachs or
Robert Sachs, Robin
Robert
Sachs.
Sachs. Yeah, Robert Sachs.
Okay.
You got it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Like
Prime
kudos to
X-ray.
him.
Yeah.
The fact that he
Robin.
could pull that out with just his inflection,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and make you believe that was a thing. It
Mhm.
was good, and I think it actually counterbalanced, believe it or not, more with Rickman because of the way he plays such a
Right.
mid-Atlantic, voice that's you kind of almost have these two serious players, two sides of the same coin on either side of Tim
Yeah.
Allen's character, and you at this point in film we recognize how much more work I would say that British or any actors from overseas put into their craft as opposed to what we do. Not to say we don't, but they are respected for such.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you hear that, when you hear somebody come out with an accent on a play or something like that, you're expecting greatness. You know,
Yeah.
it's just a thing. Sorry, you guys
Yeah.
did really well. I say some of the best American actors aren't even from here. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so it's really nice to see that play out, and not to mention having people like Sigourney Weaver or
Sure.
Mitchell, all these guys, they know what they're doing,
Yeah.
and to have them not come in and try to steal the scene, to have them not come in and there's no pushiness about this film except for the pushiness that has to be there. They're not forcing any of these performances down your throat.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why I always forget the fake fight scene.
Yeah. Yeah. Classic sort of deception.
Yeah.
You're starting to act like you did in episode 18.
Yeah. Wink, wink.
I'm gonna start doing that now with friends and be like, you're starting to act like you did in episode 18, season 4. You remember?
Yeah.
And they'll look at me with like, what? What are you talking about?
The way that the one thing that this movie does several times, it's they mention or they'll reference, it's like that scene in episode 18. It's like, do actors from these types of long running shows, do they remember episode numbers and what they did? And, I have to imagine that isn't, very true to life. I don't know.
They might because of their fans and the conventions.
Maybe.
And just hearing it parroted to them. I could see them maybe knowing it because of that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like if you're getting grilled 100 times about whatever particular things that are going on or famous fight scenes or whatever. But that I think I'm okay with that because of the contention that these two characters have.
Oh, sure.
I think Rickman is going to know, Rickman's character, Dane, is going to know every moment he was screwed over by Nesmith. And I think Nesmith's going to kind of have pushed it down until he needs it, like this moment. You know what I mean? He's like, oh, yeah, I remember when I screwed you over that way. You're starting to act like blah, 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 And I also think about these weapons now that I keep watching it, because I have it playing in the background here, is the weapon, doesn't it look just like the weapon that they had in Fifth Element?
Yes.
It's really close.
Yes. I almost wonder if it's not the same thing, just redressed a little bit.
It seems close. All I'm going to say is that it is definitely like of that ilk, and that's kind of a cool nod too in itself. Because that was another great movie. I don't remember when that one came out, but God, that weapon.
That was 97.
Yeah, that was one of those silly weapons. You're like, it's huge. What is this thing? And then you see it all over this, and you're like, yeah, it works. I'm good. I'm happy. I'm okay with it because it's the right kind of cheesy.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm trying to think of Starship Troopers if it had any obnoxious guns.
I feel like they were more realistic guns.
Yeah.
Like slightly more.
It was like a rocket launcher with a nuke on it or something.
Yeah, but I mean, like the rifles that they carried, I think were more based on actual like military sort of weapons.
Gotcha.
It looked like laser tag to me, but that movie makes me sad. I just don't understand. I mean, there's no way, because why would you choose her over her? I just don't.
That was the conclusion we kind of came to at the end. Like,
dude, she's all about you, man. She's got your back.
Right.
Something's wrong with you. I don't understand. Like, no.
Yeah.
So the whole movie, I didn't care what happened. I was just like, it just made me sad. But it was a good movie. I adjust. But no, it was one of those things where like when I see weapons or bombs or things like that in these kind of movies, I'm analyzing. I'm like, what is that from? What other movies did they use that in from? But they did a good job with the boxes on this. I thought I thought they really hit the realm of being familiar with not being overtly pushy again.
Yeah.
And that's what this movie does from A to Z, in performances, in toys, in everything. It's pushy, if not familiar, until we get to back to Brandon and the guys, and they're like, sorry, here's what you got to do. Glasses up. Protocol 5,
He pulls in all of his crew, and they're like, this so-and-so has all the specs, and that's fun. I like that they cut to Tommy, because he was the ship's pilot, and they show him like, for some reason in my head, he always takes this downtime to like go to a flight simulator and practice. But then I'm always reminded when you see it, he's just watching the historical documents and seeing his character do the hand motions of flying, and that because of that, that's how all this was built. That makes so much sense that he just needs to study like what he did, to later become a better pilot for him. But
yeah, because what the show probably took place in the 80s,
I think so, yeah.
based on hair and I guess him being a kid and how old
I
he
want to
looks now.
say there was something in the dialogue that was like the show ended in 83.
Yeah, that
Something
seems
like
about
that.
right. He had Flock of Seagull looking kind of hair.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. So yeah, I mean, you'd have to go back and figure out what he did as a kid, like, 18 years ago or whatever.
And Daryl Mitchell, he's a fun actor to watch just in general because he's not over pushy about being in the cast either. You could tell he was definitely one of the actors that remained humble. He doesn't have a lot of qualms about what's going on.
Yeah.
In fact, like I think one of his first lines in the ship was like, "Well, I'm glad I'm not the captain." It's like, and they're like, "Push it out," and he's like, "What now?" It's almost a "what you talking about" moment. And I love him. I mean, I just saw him most recently, I think, on Fear the Walking Dead, season 4. They brought him in. He had a motorcycle accident on an island in off of North Carolina.
Okay.
So he's been in a wheelchair since 2001.
Okay.
Wow.
But the fact that he's still going, I really like him as a performer and what he does. He actually works a lot in Fear the Walking Dead with Mo Gaffigan.
I know the name.
She's from Second City TV, Mad TV.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And those two are like a team in that. And I couldn't remember where I knew him from, and then I remembered it was Galaxy Quest.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh yeah, man, keep trucking. And he's very underrated in this film, but he does his job. He does not. Like Guy obviously is more the breakout character for this particular project, especially with having the Green Mile come out the same year, within a couple weeks or few weeks or whatever it was. So it was nice to have those two moments of Sam and follow him. In fact, all these performers, I don't think there's anybody in here where I'm like, well, you could do something else there. I think they just nailed it left to right, And same with the CGI when like they're under the beryllium sphere and stuff like that. Like it's the right amount of what it should look like for when it was made, and even now it's still fun to watch.
I think there's not much in this that doesn't really hold up. I mean, the rock monster, it's like, you can tell it's CGI, but it doesn't look bad. I mean, this movie really holds up. And speaking about like actors, that we haven't really talked much about Sigourney Weaver, and I love that they don't play her. She's not Ripley in this. She's not playing a Ripley character. And then the actress is nothing like I read that she liked wearing this blonde wig and having like her boobs enhanced, or just like she liked playing that character, like who would look like that and play this, a woman on a sci-fi show who has the dumb job and is like I read that she really liked this character, and it comes through. And I love that there's something like you can have her as Ripley, you can have her as this, and she's awesome.
Well, her spiel about I did 6 paragraphs. I did an interview. It was 6 paragraphs of how my boobs looked in this shirt or whatever. And that actually is based on the gal that played 7 of 9.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense.
She did an interview, and it's a complete
wow
carryover from that.
Okay.
But I mean, originally she fought to be in this movie even when Ramis was on it.
Right.
And they had a strict policy that nobody in sci-fi films could be in this film. And there's so much more to Sigourney Weaver, and they didn't have to think long to know that there wasn't, that she wasn't going to be that one person. It's just what's perceived in your head and your mind about, different actresses or actors and who they're going to play on screen. And sometimes you want them to be that. But in this case, I mean, her performance is so unlike. I would tell you if it's like anybody, it's very much like the character from Ghostbusters. You know what I mean? Where she's flirtive and she's fun. She knows how to play the banter, but she's willing to go with the flow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
to get whatever it is done.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of cool. I was like, oh, that's a different side. It's a lighter side of that character.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So sorry, I was thinking about Ghostbusters too. I was gonna put him down, but do you want to? Yeah, you're ugly, you smell bad, and you're a terrible burden on your mother. Um, but there's nobody again like in all of this that stepped outside their bounds. Everybody gave you what you needed from the different characters, like Mitchell being the Geordie LaForge-esque kind of character mixed with Data, in the fact that he had to pilot the machine and all that. The being young and learned like Data would be,
or like
and
Will
that kind
Wheaton,
of thing.
the
Will Wheaton,
kid on the show,
and that's actually a direct reference is the Will Wheaton character.
Yeah.
Will was always kind of getting into trouble and putting his nose in place. He was often the cause of some of the episodes. Will did something. Oh, great, we're gonna have another episode. Like if that was the reality of it. Damn it, Will did something. Why wouldn't he just? He wants to show me a dead body by the railroad tracks. I don't even know what's going on.
I've got the movie playing in the background and just got to the scene where Quillick, gets shot and he's dying in Alex's arms, and God, it's another one of those moments that is so good in this film. You just want to watch more of that. But it still works in this comedy. So.
Well, that's the second moment in this film that is heavy with heart, and when he says by Graph Hammer, it's there's so much. There's Alan Rickman. Doing what Alan Rickman does. And that even as an actor, being Patrick, laying there in your prosthetics and having this moment where you're looking up and you're in Alan Rickman's hand.
Yeah.
And he's got this, you don't see the rubber on his head.
Right.
You don't see it. You're just, this is happening.
By the sons of Warvan, you shall be avenged.
Yeah, you're just like, oh God, this is right. This is the death every Star Trek fan hopes for.
Yeah.
Leonard Nimoy comes down and says, it's okay. And you're like, it's time to go. High five, high four, and high three. But you want to be there. You are there. You're back in this movie. You realize the stakes. There is something at stake. It is a thing that's happening. And that's what drives a story in any film is what's at stake. And this brings you back to reality that there is something at stake. Whenever they kill a lead person off, you're feeling it.
Yeah.
Even though he's wearing purple and gray pajamas.
Right.
Does he still have the inside out pig guts on his head in that scene?
He might.
Oh yeah. Okay. Very much so. Yeah.
I was just noting how funny it is because after that whole, Alex sort of leads the revolution after they've saved the Thermians, and so they start fighting back. Like they're finally inspired to fight back, but they still charge at the whatever the aliens are, doing that silly marionette run. They're still it's just more of that physical comedy that is so funny.
And they're doing it with purpose and serious meaning. That's the brilliance of it.
Right.
You don't. Oh, this is one of the best scenes when Joseph Brandon's got to run out and take the trash out. And they're like, "What do you do? We got to push the button. What do we do? What do we do?" And he's
right.
Like, and then you nothing on comms, and then it cuts to him running out to take the trash. Probably one of the best edits I've seen in film to this day.
Yeah, he needed to take a stand and say, "Mom, now's not the
galaxy is at stake."
Well, at least he's going outside,
Right?
Yeah, touching grass.
I like. See, they do the Omega 13, and I never noticed it until I read it that visually they were going for a Beneath the Planet of the Apes sort of reference there with the way that Taylor, sets off the nuclear bomb at the end of Beneath, where it like the plunger comes up and he hits it, and so they were kind of the way that they do that with him turning on the Omega 13 device is meant to evoke that, and so that's a nice little fun, sci-fi sort of nod that you wouldn't maybe expect. Also, I certainly didn't.
The aliens are called the Fatu Cray, the bad guys.
Okay.
The Fatu Cray, Fatu
Cray.
Dash Cray. I wonder if they call him that in one of the exposition lines in the beginning.
I know that they say something, but it's like it's so fast, and it's sort of a blink and miss it.
You're hearing this language
again.
Every time you watch it, you got to get used to that language. You're like, what? Yeah, the arachnid shell. I love that.
And I love
like
that when they're like coming towards Earth, they have to separate the ship, which is goes back to Trek. I mean, the Next Gen, they did it in the first episode with like the saucer separation and the battle bridge and all that, and they do it in Generations again, and a few times throughout Trek, like having the ship separate. So I love that they do that here. That's one of my favorite little just odd little things from Star Trek. But yeah, I like that they do that here too.
I would have thought for that ship, maybe a smaller ship could have broken out of the center of the disc, because I was always bummed out with like, let's break off into this gigantic, very easy to hit space target. And I was like, oh, that's okay. I would have stayed in the tail end of it, I guess. But yeah, I guess with the help me out, the energy.
The Mega 13 or the beryllium?
No, in Star Trek.
That
Geordi Forge. And this will take away any credibility you ever had.
Yeah.
I just know photon torpedoes. That's all I got.
Dilithium.
No. Well, yeah, but what is it? The core. What do they call that? You're gonna have to delete all this because you'll never survive. You'll never survive this. Hold on a second.
I'm the resident noob, so
the warp core. Is that what you mean?
Thank you.
Yeah. The warp
core. Okay. So it's just like I get it because of the warp core. You don't want to be down there when that pops, and they always reject the warp core.
Yeah.
Or they separate the ship. I'm like, just eject the warp core and shoot at it. But I mean, they did a real good job with that ship, like the explosion stuff, the Bird of Prey style ship that they made, the green. Like you get full resonance of the original Star Trek.
Yeah.
And then you get Star Trek Enterprise. Star Trek The Next Generation. Yeah. Thank you. The original ships are green too, and the kind of makeup was green as well. But that in the first ones, but in the later version of it, they really played with the green lighting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And and as far as like Enrico Calatoni, I mean, he carries that side of the movie. So well. You see his innocence the whole time. He never breaks the character. You never think he has the upper hand in any situation, but you realize he's a good leader because he's made the right choices.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's evident by him still being alive at the end of the film.
And he gets to kick Saris's ass, and it's before Saris breaks in and gets in a fight, and then Mathazar just comes out of nowhere, starts beating him with his cane.
Yeah, no, and at that moment when they have to use the what do you call it? The
Omega 13. Yeah,
the Omega 13. Like I thought that was a clever call. It kind of made me think of Q for a minute there, like the power surge and the moment before. I was like, oh, that's like a little bit of Q-esque. There's always that power surge before something blows up. What do you think happened? What do you think always happens when there's a power surge in space before you blow up the enemy? Somebody came over somehow in whatever window. I'm surprised guys like, well, that's not good. But by now, guys living in it. And then Tony Shalhoub comes on deck. Chen comes on deck with his phaser pointed. You're like, oh, that's not right. And then boom. So I think that was pretty priceless. I think that was a good wrap up to making him the superior. Because sure, I mean, this is a guy that like kills his own lieutenant. Puts his head on a spike just for not putting the shields up quick enough. Like, you didn't do it either, dude. Like you screwed up as well. So like a lot of respect for elevating not only his performance but giving him even more ending to his arc.
And then he gets rewarded, and he's obviously he's made the commander at the end, and that feels right. It's nice. And I love how the movie itself kind of bookends with the convention setting at the front, and then when they crash land and happen into this convention, just so perfectly bust through the wall, don't hurt anybody, and then step out onto the stage. Like it's silly, but
the
it
original
works.
script, 13 people get decapitated.
Yeah.
Like it's a thing.
Yeah, they weren't going for a PG sort of vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, no. The original script before this script.
Oh, sure.
So
Yeah.
So this script was written basically on the premise of the original script. They wouldn't let him read Bob, the guy who rewrote it. They wouldn't let him read the other script because they didn't want to influence him.
Mm-hmm.
And then to have one of the kids in the hall, Kevin McDonald, and then you pass by like a Q character from the Judgment Day episode, and you're looking at all this and you're like, this is great, and then Kevin's unsure of himself and he's like, oh, so this happened, and he feels like he needs to stay at the mic. I know. Let me tell you, any actor that's getting paid whatever for these gigs, some burst through the wall, smoke, they're gone. That's it.
Yeah.
Agents are called. People are upset. But he goes with the flow. You feel like, oh, this is great. He's in the moment. Everybody's coming out, and he just starts introducing them, and he's like, some people he has no clue. He's just like, and this person, and a friend,
and a
guy.
friend, yeah. It's Tech Sergeant Shed and a friend,
and
another crewman,
yeah.
But he goes with it. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
I like that Saris's, exit. It
looks like a magic trick.
It does. It plays off to the audience like, oh, that's a cool sort of stunt that they just did for us.
Little puff of smoke at the end just made me think of ta-da.
Yeah.
The fact that this guy gets 3 endings is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just credit to the guy playing him.
Yeah.
I mean? Like, you got 3 endings where you get killed, dude. High five.
Yeah. I wish the kids got like some kind of like consultant job on the show,
right?
Or something.
That when they make the series, or they're doing they were going to make a series. I think Amazon had it, and then
Paul Scheer was involved. Away. Yeah, he was kind of taking the reins of it.
Yeah, that would have been phenomenal, but also in the same respect, it could have ruined it all for us.
Yeah, I don't know what angle you do something with this to continue. I don't know. Do you? You could, on one hand, you could just make the show as if it's almost like the Orville, or like just make a new space show that's set in this world. But I don't know if that would work. But then how do you do it with, is Tim Allen going to be involved? Rickman obviously can't be, unfortunately.
Honestly, I think they did it. I think they did it with Seth MacFarlane. I think he did it when he did Orville.
Yeah.
I think that's the end of what came out of that.
That was such a good show. Like, yeah. So let's see. I do like that this ends, with the hint of more. Obviously, it's like, they get their own revival, and that's what you want from this. So it plays really well.
Kudos to a great film.
That's
all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right next to All of Me, it is straight up there with some of my favorite films.
Oh, wow. Well, let's jump into sort of our, wrap up kind of stuff. We can start with our most heroic. No, let's start with most villainous. Patrick, what do you got?
This planet, these people, they are nothing to me.
You were made to be ruled.
The universe's power. You unstoppable power. Come to me, son of Jor-El. Kneel before Zod. And I am that force. I am that power.
In the end, you will always kneel.
Kneel before your master.
Well, I mean, the worst part of the movie for me, as far as villainy, I think is going to be a common one, with Saris making him explain what the TV show is. I mean, that's brutal.
That's what I have to. Yeah.
I mean, you can try to weasel your way into a few others, but that's probably the number one.
Yeah. Charlie, how about you?
So I didn't find that as villainous. I found that as it was soul crushing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was definitely soul crushing for that race of people. But for me, I gotta say it's when Sirius has has his first lieutenant's head on a
Okay.
pike
That's a
for,
good
you
one.
know,
Yeah.
not turning on the. I mean, that just goes to he doesn't even care about his own people.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
everybody cares about their own people in this film except for him.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't care if his people get this planet and this world and whatever and this thing and the sphere. He just wants it for him. So that to me is the most villainous, because there's no what am I doing this for? Like Darth
Mhm.
Vader is
Yeah, we
less
don't really
villainous
know his
because
motivation. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And it seems very selfish. So to me, that's the moment.
Right on. How about most heroic?
I believe there's a hero in all of us
I just finally know what I have to do.
that keeps us honest,
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
gives us strength,
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards.
makes us noble.
And I know in my heart that it's right.
Mine, I mean, no surprise, the sort of Alex engaging or avenging Quillick and then going after that alien, that soldier. That's definitely the fist pump kind of moment for me.
Nice. I think for me, it's it's two. Laredo saying, glad I'm not the captain, and then having to take the ship out and
Yes.
just doing it.
Oh God, that
And
is
just
such a
he's
good
just like,
moment.
okay, and he just does it. He's like, it's happening. Oh, it's happening. You feel it. He's like, I did it, and then everybody's like,
Yeah.
You
The
know, it's
physical
heroic.
comedy of when Tim Allen first like cocks his head slightly to the side, like something's not right here, is a great way to start that off, and then it just gets worse.
And then the other moment that kind of splits that 50-50 for me is when guys like, there's a red thingy going towards the green thingy. I think we're the green thingy. And the fact that he got all of that out,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, like, because I would probably be frozen and have to change my pants. The fact that he was able to save everybody, including himself, I will say it's heroic. You know, I will give him credit for that. Laredo #1, that's for me on that.
Nice.
I think I'm gonna go with when Jason, they're trying to steal the beryllium sphere, whatever the hell, and Tim Allen's character Jason stays behind, and then you get the hero shot when he's teleported back, all shirtless and everything.
Yeah.
With a runner-up to his other heroic pose of his taint being out in the open. You got two very polar opposite poses from Tim Allen in this.
Nice. Good call.
Well, Charlie, at the end of these, we always rate it out of 5. So you get, I don't know.
Me?
Yeah.
For me, I honestly can't. I gotta hit it up to a 5, and I'm gonna hit it up to a 5 because there's nothing that happens when I watch this movie that makes me want to turn it off at all at any point. And I'm never not looking at something on the screen trying to compare it to something I already know and what kind of work they did to either not be that exact same thing or hint to it enough. So I'm gonna give it the solid 5, which I normally wouldn't as any judge, you know, as any person shouldn't. But I'm gonna give it a high 5.
Right on. Yeah, I'm right there as well. It's a perfectly enjoyable movie. You know, I think it's got so many things going for it. I've never had a bad time watching this.
Well,
oh no.
For the sake of the podcast, I wish I could say it's a 1. But
just for the comment.
But it's going to be boring, and it's a 5. I
mean,
and this is coming from somebody that didn't initially like it all that much because it didn't quite track with everything, and it took like at least 3 viewings, I want to say, before I really started appreciating it. And it may have to do with how I watched it those first 2 times, but yeah, I mean, I can't complain about it. It's something you could just jump into at any point. you can turn your brain off, enjoy life for a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
live through these characters. And yeah, 5 easy.
Nice.
All right, so Patrick gives it a 5 after not liking it the first few times. Noted.
Yeah.
Noted. You're in my book, sir.
Hey, what bigger praise? It got me on board. It was a slow burn for me, but
no, you crushed it.
It burnt to my heart.
Mm-hmm. Oh man. Well, Charlie, what do you want to hip the listeners to?
I could go to the theaters and see Megalopolis and then text me what you thought. And also go see Saturday Night. My buddy Jeff Pope's in that. I loved it.
Oh,
I
nice.
enjoyed it. Follow me on Instagram, Charlie Talbert Show. Or sorry, the Charlie Talbert _performer. Text me. I'll always write back. If you get weird, I'll stop writing back. Because that happens. People get weird.
Sure.
And just enjoy life. Have fun with it. And remember, things are things, but people are extensions of yourself.
Beautiful.
Ooh, wise words.
And thanks for having me, guys. This has been awesome. It's been
absolutely
good to hang out. It's good to see you again. It's good to be here and good to talk about the thing I love doing. I'm moving up to New York in the next few months permanently. So
nice.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So I'm very excited. You caught me in the last moments as I take down my posters and change my whole world.
Nice. New York in December is pretty nice.
Yeah. Well, I turned 46 on December 13th, and I was thinking I want to be there before I turn 46. And I am actually going to New York to study acting.
Okay.
So I want to study, I want to get better and better at what I do, because I'm built for sitcoms, but we don't make sitcoms anymore.
No.
But there's shows like Spider Noir that's shooting out in LA right now with Nick Cage as Spider-Man.
Okay.
I can't wait for this stuff. So I want to be a part of that kind of world. So that's what I'm doing right now, and it doesn't hurt to go with I'm not going to tell people who I am. I'm going to go to classes and get my face kicked in by teachers, and that's what I need.
Nice.
And maybe I'll do some stage work too. I kind of want to get into that realm as well.
Very cool. Well, I look forward to seeing you and more things in the future. There was something that came out. It was, what was it? The Teenage Bounty Hunters came out a couple years ago, and I think because you're like the teacher that dies, that spurs them into becoming these investigators and
Well, I'm actually episode 5. I'm done. The episode it's something about I played Mr. Kuntz, who was their teacher, but it does start a catalyst with a couple relationships in the show. And this is the second project I've done with Kadeem Hardison and stuff like that. But I hopped onto that project. I want to say in 2019, and it came out in 2020, just as the pandemic was hitting and stuff like that. And I got to tell you, and it's a show that was created by the same gal that created Orange is the New Black. Gigi Cohen. And I was like, oh, this is a good project. And I've always wanted to play a teacher, and I was like, this is fantastic.
I loved how when you played that teacher, it was so clear, to everyone else, he just looked like the sad, guy that, I don't know, just lived this sad life. But to him, he was perfectly happy with himself and his life, and just I don't know. I don't even know if you had dialogue. It was just okay. For some reason, I think of that performance as just being all physical.
When you see me, it is all physical. The whole beginning of it, when you're getting to see my routine in life, it's all physical. But when she goes into the flashback of who I am, and she's looking on Instagram, there actually is a Mr. Kuntz Instagram that people have went to, and they're like, rest in peace. And they did all these cool photoshops, and actually bought some of my own pictures off of me. And so I went over and snagged those people. I was like, come on over, Mr. Kuntz is still kicking it.
Yeah.
But there's a scene where I'm on top of a summit. And she looks up and she sees me playing pool, and then I disappear into somebody else.
That's right.
And I've always wanted one of those moments of film, and I finally got it. And then I'm like, I'm so happy, and I'm on this mountain range, and I'm like, I did it. I finally did it. And I'm crying. And that was the audition piece that got me the part. I just had to do that bit, and I did it in the snow. But what I did was, because he's supposed to be kind of what you think is a lonely individual.
Yeah.
And I did the summit thing. I had my snow gear on. It's in Louisiana. I'm cooking, you know, and I do the spiel, and then I have to do this thing they call a slate, where you have to say your height, your name, and where you live, and you do a full body shot, and it's supposed to be all set up. So it cuts from your height, and you say, "I'm Charlie Talbert. I'm 6'1". I live in New Orleans, Louisiana." Blah blah blah, and then it cuts out to a big shot of me standing there, so you can see what my body's like.
Yeah.
And I did that, and I was just standing there in awkward in the sweater, and I had this light next to me, and I just kind of moved it, and it started to fall, and I just kind of set it up, and just kind of played it, and I was like, okay, and then I just kind of awkwardly held my body as if I needed to jump towards the line if we were going to fall, and I went up to shoot, and this was actually the first time I worked with Mackenzie Aston, who was in oh God, what he was in the Garbage Pail Kids.
Yeah.
And he and I also did Love and Death together.
Okay.
With Bruce McGill. And so I get there and I meet him for the first time, and I go back, and the director, she's Asher, and she's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, your audition, your slate, that got you this part." I was like, "Thank you."
Nice.
So yeah, definitely it was, and that was the coolest part about it. It's my physicality. It's like Megalopolis. I think you'll hear my voice at one point, but you don't actually see me during that scene. But you'll see me in presence with John Voight throughout the movie. And the thing is I got that audition on my own through a friend. Like I snuck in through the back door on that movie and ended up having to do a 30-minute like completely full improv audition. By the end of the audition, I'm like standing over the casting director with my hand on her face, dumping liquid down on her head.
Jeez.
And like fake liquid, and like I'm pretending to take a shot. I like, it was like I like that, and this is what I consider the beginning of what I've been doing here in Louisiana for the last decade, is rebooting who I am as a performer. Now I'm in the films and projects I want to be in. Like I just did a Western with Guy Pearce and Bill Pullman.
Nice.
Called Killing Faith, and it's gonna be gorgeous. And I play the town sheriff.
Okay.
And it's a Western. So
yeah,
I've always wanted to do one of those. So now what I'm doing is, now that I'm in the projects I like, now the goal is to do larger parts in the project I like, but try to step away a little bit from my physicality, but lean into what I'm thinking as I'm trying to be physical as a performer.
Well, right on, man.
Nice. Yeah, it's like a totally different world. I can't even get my head wrapped around.
Yeah.
It's a dumb world. I don't know what I was thinking about doing this, but essentially my whole career has been backwards, man. I started out as Angus.
Yeah.
In fact, my whole stand-up routine used to be, "What's up, guys? My name's Charlie. You might remember me from such film as Angus. Yeah, that's right. I do film and television. Now I'm doing stand-up comedy. Boy, did I go." You know, and it's like, because of the way the medium is changing, and because of how everything is arcing and how AI is coming into the world, like all of this stuff, I have picked a career that is completely uncertain.
Yeah.
And is completely like almost starting over. And I'm okay with that. And if I go out doing this, if I'm just doing that, whether it's plane accident, natural causes, you name it, whatever it is, wrong step, I don't care. As long as I was stepping in the direction of the thing I wanted to do to have fun with my life and to share that with other people, I did it right, you know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do.
And then he exploded.
Exploded. I heard that.
Perfect.
I heard that.
Well, again, thank you, sir, for joining us. This was awesome. I hope we can get you on, down the road, maybe Time Cop 3 or, something.
No. I'll come back. You let me know. I'll come play with you.
Right on. Well, let's see. Patrick, what's next?
Hell if I know.
Oh, I know. It's Mission Impossible 2, because we're finally in the year 2000. In the year 2000.
You and I.
So Y2K didn't happen?
What?
So yeah, we're stepping back into Mission Impossible.
I know this one gets a hard rap, so I'm interested to revisit, because I don't remember that all that well.
I mean, yeah, I enjoyed this one, so
okay.
Well, I don't think you will.
Oh, thanks. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Hey, wait, is that the Philip Seymour Hoffman one?
No, that's 3.
Oh, yeah.
Who's the main antagonist in?
It's Dougray Scott. He was going to be Wolverine until he got injured, and then Hugh Jackman had to step in. So he's kind of like famous for not being Wolverine. But
man.
I mean, he's a solid actor, and
It's the one with Penelope Cruz.
no, she's not in a Mission Impossible.
Isn't she?
No.
Oh God.
Yeah, Patrick, you're not gonna like this one.
There's a Limp Bizkit song in the
oh jeez,
in the closing credits.
Did it all for the nookie?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
So.
I can't wait to not enjoy this movie, I guess.
Right.
Jeez.
Oh, you're not gonna have any fun. Can you just set up a live cam while you watch this?
Oh yeah, just watch my soul leave my body. Fantastic. Oh.
No, you're gonna have fun. It's gonna be great.
Okay. Well, man, you really bumped me out there, Travis. Thanks.
Thanks for stopping by and bumming me out, though.
That's right.
Yeah.
And until next time, stay safe out there, citizens.
Agent located. Identity confirmed.
Good morning, Mr. Hunt. Sorry I barged in on your vacation. Well, Mr. Hunt, I don't quite know where to begin.
You know?
No. Should I?
She's got no training for this kind of thing.
To go to bed with a man who lied to him, she's a woman. She's got all the training she needs.
Welcome to Australia, mate. This ain't funny.
The mother of all nightmares is on the loose.
I don't think I can do it.
You mean it'll be difficult?
Very.
Well, this is not mission difficult, Mr. Hunt. It's mission impossible. Difficult should be a walk in the park for you.
You gotta be kidding.
This message will destruct in 5 seconds.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. Find the show on Facebook and Twitter at Real Comic Heroes. All music and audio are the property of their respective creators.